It is the year of our Lord, 2025. And Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, hits so much different now than it did when I was 13. I wouldn't be surprised if a big reason for that is I'm now closer in age to Orlando than I am to Ramza. Crap. This version of Final Fantasy Tactics just does a much better job presenting its story in a coherent and fulfilling way than its original version. And just so you know where I'm coming from, I haven't played the War of the Lions version for the PSP. I'm aware of the changes made in that game, but I haven't experienced them firsthand. So I am now comparing this experience to my original one almost 30 years ago now. Almost 3 decades later, isn't it kind of unfortunate how relevant parts of Final Fantasy Tactics story still are today? For an almost 30-year-old game, it reflects some of modern society's biggest problems. Even Yasumi Matsuno alluded to this game's themes being very relevant still today, and how he is re-releasing it at a time when division and inequality are still deeply entrenched in society. Final Fantasy Tactics world is pretty brutal, and the themes of the haves versus the have-nots is stark. In our world today, where many people are suffering, have less money, and live with the reality they won't live as well as their parents did, Final Fantasy Tactics hits home hard for a lot of people. But this reflection of a lot of modern society's ills is only part of the reason this story is so good in this new version. With this new version of Final Fantasy Tactics, the new translation, extended dialogue, and improved presentation solidify Final Fantasy Tactics' already overwhelmingly praised story as one of the genre's very best. First off, the new translation, oh my god, for this version of the story is way easier to follow and understand, and the nuances are more obvious, and the enhanced dialogue make the story feel as if it has been fully actualized. I know the story for Final Fantasy Tactics quite well, even though it's been years since I played the game, but this go around, it just felt like it was much more clear about why characters were acting the way they were, and for what motivated them. Back in the day, I did not follow the storyline of the Knights Templar and the Church very well at all. In the past, I did not have a solid grasp on what the Church was doing, aside from the fact a bunch of them were secretly demons. My somewhat mature 40-year-old brain probably helps me understand the story a little bit more, but this game just does a much better job in general presenting what's going on. This version's new presentation, with systems like the State of the Realm, which marks where characters are in Ivalice at any given time, with its clear labeling of different factions, along with the territory they occupy, helps keep things so much clearer in regards to the story. Games like this are always better when they have a map system that lets you accurately know the lay of the land. It makes understanding a game's world much clearer. I always love their inclusion in any game. Now, I know some of you didn't really like the flowery language, the way characters talked in this version of the game, but for me, I used the Japanese VA instead of the English, and it made it go down so much easier. The flowery language I found was easier to read than to listen to, personally speaking. Plus, I highly recommend the Japanese VA for how utterly demented and unhinged Argeth sounds. The excellent Japanese voice acting totally changed my perception of specific characters, and usually in a good way. And it made some emotional scenes that didn't, I guess, really resonate with me back in the day hit so much harder now. For example, Zalbag's pleas for a merciful death at the hands of his brother, or him begging Orlando to deliver the finishing blow so his brother doesn't have to, just made me stop dead in my tracks. It made me grateful for the voice acting's inclusion. The new translation and voice acting were great in Final Fantasy Tactics, but it was the extended dialogue given to recruitable story characters that occurs within certain battles, depending on what characters are present, is what made this the ultimate Final Fantasy Tactics experience for me when it comes to story editions. The extended character dialogue in battle between enemy characters and your own story recruited characters is what made this game feel like it was fully actualized. I always found Ramza's journey such a solitary one in the original PlayStation release. Yes, you battle alongside characters from the main story, but they went mute as soon as they joined you, which was a damn shame because in spite of this, they were still some of the best and most enduringly popular characters in Final Fantasy. And with this new extended dialogue, now at least I don't have to pretend in my own headcanon what those characters were talking about off screen. Now we actually get to see it happening, and it doesn't feel like Ramza is on a solitary journey anymore. We have some great moments added to this game. We now have Agrius waxing philosophical with Delita about justice and his methods to achieve power, Orlando making it clear rumors about his death have been greatly exaggerated, Meliadul confronting her father and former comrades in the Knights Templar, and Mustadio being a true bro. And a lot of this extra character dialogue fills in a lot of holes with the game's antagonists too, making it much clearer where multiple antagonists' motivations actually come from. These conversations also made characters that felt very one note in the original release, if they had a note at all, feel like they had an actual place in the story now. Ramza now feels like he has actual companions fighting for him and his cause now. And it helps to further contrast where he and Delita end up at the end of the story. Delita rose himself above all others and achieved the ultimate power within society, king, but he has no one close to him anymore. Whereas Ramza's a heretic on the run, has zero power societally speaking, but has the greatest comrades and friends he could ever ask for. Having this extended dialogue with the characters after they join your party throughout the course of the story and having them not being mute makes the ending of the game that much sweeter and fulfilling. I think this new version of Final Fantasy Tactics story knocks it out of the park. I had a great time playing this game again so many years later, and it's an experience I'm going to treasure and think about for a long time. But what did you all think? Do you agree this was a good retelling of Final Fantasy Tactics story? Do you have complaints? Do you have other things to praise about its story that I didn't cover? Definitely let me know in the comments, and we'll talk about things there. Thanks for watching as always, everybody. Peace.